Alright everyone, it's time for Vermont Issues episode 117. The Vermont wind turbine stuff, it's still being talked about. It's still dumb. It was dumb to begin with. The problem is this. Everybody wants renewable energy because, it's Vermont and we want to be environmentally friendly and green. That's debatable in terms of wind especially, and some aspects of solar also. But they want to be environmentally friendly, at least locally. Shove the pollution off on Southeast Asia like all the other NIMBY people. But like all NIMBY people, they don't want that green energy around them specifically. The problem is this. The wind turbine noise rules don't fundamentally address certain communities. So it's not really about the noise, it's about the view. Like you're planning on putting a bunch of ridgeline wind turbines up on a mountainside that sort of overlooks a community. Well, nobody's going to be able to hear the turbines. They're, several miles away, but they can certainly see them. They consider that scarifying the landscape. I think the environmental impact from having to maintain at least like the road and the cleared area to them, I would think that would be potentially a problem as well. But then at the same time, it also makes it harder for them to put the wind mills nearer to a community that actually wishes to use them. At the same time, you've got the NIMBY folks, the true NIMBY crowd, that say, no, we don't want them in our community. Now, they'd even do this with like a solar field. But I can sort of understand, at least on the latter end, because it doesn't make any sense to clear off areas to build solar panels. It just doesn't make, if you're trying to address climate change, you're clearing off land that could be used to produce literally oxygen and reduce pollutants. Something that could, it could be something more than just, lawn essentially. It could have a little more biodiversity. You're clearing it off, keeping it cleared, running roads to it, running lines from it just in order to have your solar cells up. Why not just put them on existing structures? One of the biggest problems that you have in some cases is the heat island effect anyway. Why don't you just put it on roofs instead of expanding the area that's been cleared and is subject to all of these other problems? It's going to be cheaper. It's more efficient. You can decentralize the grid more to harden it against attacks, potentially, with each community generating a substantial proportion of the power that it needs, at least. You wouldn't have blackouts anymore. You might have brownouts at times. You could do that. You can't do that with ridgeline windmills. You can't do that with solar fields that are, a literal field of solar panels. It's so much less efficient, it makes no fucking sense. If Germany can do it, Germany's more cold and dreary than Vermont. Hard enough to believe, I know, but northern Germany especially, it's like Siberia or something. They managed to generate a huge proportion of all their energy needs from solar projects. We could make it even more efficient simply by slapping those panels on top of businesses and public buildings. Why don't we just do that? They don't make the same noise. It's not going to scarify our hillsides. It takes up no additional land whatsoever. And you can give a subsidy to those willing to host them. Well, everybody wins. Isn't it a lot easier to do? Why don't we do that instead of worrying about, oh, where are we going to put these 100 windmills that nobody actually wants to be near them? They don't even want it close enough for them to see, let alone to be able to hear. Isn't this going to become a continual problem? Well, why don't we just take that problem off the table? The environmentalist crowd gets their out of sight, out of mind pollution production, and they get to pretend like the solar panels that some of the rare earth minerals used to create them are mined out of the earth by slaves, essentially. Sorry to say, but that's also the case with wind. Like U.S. oil, it's the one situation, U.S. oil and propane, basically, where the workers involved are not being enslaved and mistreated. If it's coming from foreign shores, slavery was involved. If it's coal, black lung is involved. That's just, we've just got to get used to the fact that unfortunately that's sort of how the world operates. But if you want to move towards so-called clean energy, what you should do is run solar panel factories on solar energy to the best of your ability. Like literally use solar to make more solar. It just sort of makes sense. Install it in a decentralized fashion, and also just increase the efficiency of goods and services anyway so that they're more fuel and energy efficient. Now, the private marketplace has been doing this for a long time. When government gets involved, it puts its foot up its ass, denying the free market, and doesn't work. And then you get less efficiency over time. Sorry, just what happens. You can't speed the process along any further than it's already going. And the best you can do is equalize all subsidies or remove them all, and let everything be a totally free market situation. If you're going to treat solar as a public works, though, now you need to decentralize it. Don't clear additional land. It's so much less expensive to put it on a house. The heat rising up through the roof of the house will help to keep it clear anyway, as opposed to having it in the middle of a field somewhere. I mean, it's just, that's the least efficient thing that you can do, and solar, even then, is more efficient than wind. It really is. That's about all. Peace out.